You come to me today with that familiar heaviness in your chest. The kind you pretend is stress, but I know it's something older, deeper, sharper. You call it financial worry. But it is something else. Something carved into the soft parts of you long before adulthood. Long before bills. Long before responsibility. You carry the fear of scarcity as if it were a memory. But it's not a memory. It's a belief. A wound disguised as truth. Sit with me. Breathe with me. I want to tell you a story. A parable. One I have carried for many years. The room grows quieter as I speak, not because the world outside changed, but because something inside you did. There was once a village, I begin, small, dry, and forgotten by most of the world. The villagers woke each morning with the same ache you feel now. The ache of never having enough. Enough food. Enough resources. Enough certainty. Enough breath. They believed they were cursed. They believed the world withheld from them. They believed their suffering was inevitable, unquestionable, almost holy. Every week, they walked to the single well in the center of the village, a well they believed was drying up because the world had abandoned them. When I describe this, your eyes fall to the floor. Because you know what it feels like to live with a drying well inside your chest. But listen closely. Because this is where the parable becomes truth. The villagers never drew more than a small cup of water each. Not because they were disciplined. Not because they were wise. But because they were terrified. Terrified that if they took too much, there would be nothing left for tomorrow. Terrified that if they received freely, something bad would happen. Terrified that their needs were burdens they had to hide even from themselves. You breathe a little sharper now. You feel the connection. You feel the mirror. They cupped their hands tightly, like you do. They took small sips, like you do. They rationed their hope, like you do. Scarcity was not in the well. Scarcity was in their minds. In their bodies. In their inherited fear. One day, I continue, a traveling monk arrived, tired, dusty, and carrying nothing but a wooden bowl. He asked for water. Just a little. Just enough to continue his journey. But the villagers froze. They shook their heads. They closed their doors. They clutched their small cups to their chests as if the monk were a thief and not a guest. They told him the well was nearly empty. That they barely had enough for themselves. That they lived on the edge of collapse. The monk listened. He nodded. And he asked a single question, have you ever looked into the well when the sun is high? They laughed at him. Mocked him. Called him naive. Why would they look into the well? Why would they stare at the emptiness that terrified them? But the monk insisted. So they followed him, muttering their doubts, clutching their fear with both hands. When they reached the well, the monk asked them to lean in and look. And when the sunlight struck the water, they gasped. Because the well was not empty. It was deep. Abundant. Fuller than they had ever imagined. The water had always been there. They simply never dared to look because they were too busy protecting their fear. Scarcity had become their identity. Their story. Their excuse. Their comfort. Their cage. And you feel this truth inside your ribs like a quiet ache. Now tell me, the monk asked them, why do you live as if you are dying when your well has been full all along? The villagers had no answer. And neither do you. You tell yourself you don't have enough. But you never look into your own well. You sip life in tiny amounts because you fear what it means to receive fully. You call this discipline. But it is fear. You call this humility. But it is inherited shame. You call this responsibility. but it is emotional starvation. Scarcity is not a fact. It is a lens. A wound. A story that becomes so familiar you mistake it for truth. When I tell you this, you look away. Because something inside you is trembling. Because part of you knows you have been living like one of those villagers, afraid of taking too much, afraid of wanting too much, afraid of becoming too much. Sit with that. Let it breathe. The parable is not about a village. It is about you. It is about everyone who confuses survival with identity. Everyone who inherits fear and calls it wisdom. Everyone who chooses smallness because expansion feels dangerous. You are not cursed. You are conditioned. You are not empty. You are afraid to look. The monk in the story does not condemn the villagers. He simply reveals the truth. Scarcity is not the lack of water. It is the refusal to see it. When I say this, your breath deepens. Your shoulders soften. Your silence becomes heavier, but lighter at the same time. Because something inside you recognizes the truth, even if you don't want to. Part 2 begins where the parable becomes your life. You close your eyes. The story lingers inside you like the aftertaste of something bitter and necessary. You whisper, "Why do I feel like the villagers? Why do I fear taking more than a sip from life?" And I answer you softly, because someone taught you that safety is found in smallness. You were raised in homes where people lived with clenched hands, clenched breath, clenched dreams. People who learned that wanting is dangerous. That receiving is suspicious. That abundance is for others. You inherited their fear-laced wisdom as if it were truth. This is why scarcity feels familiar, because it was handed to you before you could choose another story. You hold on to little because you were taught that little is the safest thing to carry. But safe does not mean whole. Scarcity feels stable only because abundance feels foreign. This is why, every time life brings you a chance, a new job, a new income, a new opportunity, you shrink. You hesitate. You sabotage. Not because you don't want more, but because you don't believe you are allowed to have more. Let me tell you the part of the parable you did not notice. When the villagers saw the full well, they did not rejoice. They panicked. Because abundance challenges the identity that scarcity built. You feel this too. When life opens a door, your instinct is to close it, because the world inside that door does not match the world inside your fear. Let me tell you something quietly, scarcity is a habit, not a destiny. You do not lack resources. You lack permission. You do not lack opportunities. You lack self-trust. You do not lack abundance. You lack the belief that abundance includes you. You tremble because thriving scares you more than struggling. You breathe because the truth is heavy, but freeing. The monk in the parable said something else, something the villagers never forgot: your well does not dry because the world abandons you. It dries when you abandon yourself. The words echo in you. You feel them. You know they belong to you. You have abandoned yourself too many times to count. You abandoned your desires to appear humble. You abandoned your needs to seem strong. You abandoned your dreams to avoid disappointment. And life responded the only way it could: what you refuse to hold cannot stay with you. Money. Opportunities. Support. Love. Ease. They all slipped away because you believed you weren't meant to keep them. Let's return to the parable. After seeing the water, the villagers discovered something deeper. The well had always been full. But their fear kept them thirsty. Fear does that. It makes you starve while sitting beside a feast. You have done this too, starved in the presence of abundance. Suffered in the presence of support. Collapsed in the presence of possibility. Not because you are broken, but because scarcity became your native language. But listen to me now. This part matters. You are allowed to learn a new language. One of receiving. One of openness. One of presence. One of trust. The villagers slowly learned to draw more water. Not because the well changed, but because they did. One by one, they loosened their grip. Opened their hands. Trusted the well. Trusted themselves. Trusted life. Your journey is the same. You will not open all at once. You will not abandon scarcity overnight. Wounds do not evaporate, they soften, they loosen, they release. You begin by taking a little more from life than you think you deserve. A sip. Then a cup. Then a bowl. You begin by breathing without calculating punishment. You begin by receiving without apologizing. You begin by trusting without proof. And life will respond like the well did, quietly, faithfully, abundantly. Your well has never been empty. Your fear just kept the lid closed. Lean in. Look again. Let the sunlight reveal what scarcity hid from you. You whisper, "I want to believe this." And I tell you, that whisper is the first drop returning to your well. Scarcity is not who you are. It is who you learned to be. And you are allowed to unlearn. You are allowed to expand. You are allowed to trust the well. You are allowed to take more than a sip. You are allowed to be full. And when you finally allow yourself to be full, life will begin to overflow. The parable ends with the villagers drinking freely. But your story begins there. You place your hand over your heart. You breathe deeper. Your chest loosens. Your eyes soften. And for the first time, you feel the truth. You are not empty. You are opening. If something in this parable stayed with you, if a quiet truth rose inside you like water returning to a forgotten well, let it breathe. Let it guide your next step. And if this message walked beside you today, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so this truth can reach others who still live in silent scarcity. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for listening with a heart that has carried its own emptiness far longer than it ever needed to. Thank you for allowing these words to sit gently with your fears. I'm grateful you are here. Truly. Quietly. Deeply.